If you are looking for the best book to read about Native American history and you want a recommendation, then look no further. This is the answer, I am telling you. The Empire of the Summer Moon, the story of Quanah Parker and the rise and fall of the Comanches, the most powerful Indian tribe in American history. Granted, this book is not going to be a comprehensive history of all of the indigenous people of the Americas, but it centers and focuses on the Comanche tribe, which in itself is a very interesting tale because growing up, I took AP US history. Whenever we learned about the Native Americans, it was no more than one paragraph in our textbooks, and through the PowerPoint presentations, it was literally 1 or 2 slides. And my understanding of the Native American history was literally unfolded through a few events: the Trail of Tears, the Battle of Little Bighorn, and I knew about the Apaches and the Navajo. Other than that, my understanding of the people, aka the indigenous tribes of America, super limited. So this book was really eye-opening because I really got to learn about the American frontier and the dynamic relationships between the Spanish, the Mexicans, the Texans, and the Comanches, and a little bit of the Kiowas and the Apaches. And this book by S.C. Gwynn goes into extreme detail about all of the different skirmishes, battles, and wars that happened in the frontier. And when I talk about the frontier, I'm referring to like the northern Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado region, the plains, which is where the Comanches roamed because their lifestyle and diet really revolved around the American bison, aka the buffalo. And so their lifestyle and location of where they wanted to be, because they were a nomadic tribe, was really contingent upon what the bison were doing at the time. And I promise I'm not going to spoil the book for you. And I think it's revealed in the first or second chapter of the book, but it talks about the history of the Comanche tribe. They were always picked on. Other surrounding tribes would literally pick on them and conduct raids on the Comanches to steal whatever harvest or meat that they had collected for the upcoming winter season. And this went on for a magnitude of years. Everybody in the Plains region picked on the Comanche people. However, once the Spanish conquistadors brought over their Mustangs, their ponies, their horses, and the Comanches learned how to become proficient mounted warriors by utilizing the horse, the name of the game changed. The pecking order of the plains, the Comanches became the most terrifying, most fearful, the most trained and skilled Native American warriors, to the point where the victims of the Plains region became the bullies. They were an unstoppable force. Front and center, the book is really about Quanah Parker and his history and his origin story, and his mom was Cynthia Ann Parker, which was actually a Caucasian woman that was raided and kidnapped by the Comanches, and she eventually became a Comanche warrior and a wife of a war chief. This book is for you if you want to learn about all of the different battles and stories and wars that happened around the foundation of Texas, and especially what happened in Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona in the 19th century. It is really eye-opening, and I'm not somebody that is sitting over here cross-legged that glorifies war, but it is really fascinating and interesting to learn about the context of the battles, right? The events leading up to it, and then afterwards, what were the implications and the consequences of that battle. And on that note of a specific one battle, this book mentions probably no less than 100 different individual battles and goes into detail of what happened to the winners and the losers. And while you're reading this book, you're gonna want your phone or laptop or a tablet nearby and handy, because you're gonna have to Google to dig deeper for extra details and to read the Wikipedia pages, because the author just goes ahead and just spitballs this one-liner that just makes you sit there and all like, what? You're not going to elaborate or expand on details of who this person is or what happens afterwards or what that even means? Yes, This dude is an Ivy League educated author, so he just goes ahead and assumes that everyone reading this book is to his level, so you're gonna need a phone nearby to look up supplementary information so that you understand why that happened, or who that is, or where that is in America today. To be super transparent and honest with you, I have ADD and ADHD. So reading books is definitely a challenge for me. So this book right now is about 320 pages of reading material. And then there's also pictures in the middle of the book. A normal person would probably be able to knock this book out in 1 week, maybe no less than 2 to 3 days. But for someone like me, it took me a full 4 weeks to read this book. And that's not to say that the book was bad. For me to read an entire book that's not an academic assignment or mandatory reading in 4 weeks that I read on my own for leisure purposes, that means I really liked the book and it was captivating. And I actually checked this out from the library. So you don't even have to go on Amazon or eBay to acquire this book. Just go download Libby, the library app, listen to it on an audiobook format, or go to your local library and get a physical book. My takeaways from the book: number one, I have a new, more cultural understanding and respect for the Native American people, especially the Plains Indians. Number two, it cleared up any confusion that I had prior to this book, because I guess I'm an ignorant American, but I always just assumed Native American meant just one body of people. I understood that they were like the Iroquois, the Seminoles, the Creeks, the Biloxis. I understood that, but I guess on a surface level, I just made that very ignorant and uneducated assumption that they were just the same people, right? The identity umbrella of Native American. But this book really cleared it up and taught me that even if they lived right next door to each other, they were so different in their religion, their pecking order, the system of their society, the way that they live their life, their priorities, so different from one tribe to another. And even within a single tribe, one tribe will have like 20, 30, 40 different bands. And even those bands under one tribe of like the Comanches, they were so different. And then number three, I now understand their complicated history and relationship with one another, because before the white man came onto their land, they were at war with one another for centuries. And that it was their way of life. And when I say that, I'm referring to the Plains Indians. I'm not sure about the West Coast indigenous people, or the East Coast, or the ones that live in Alaska or Canada. I'm talking about the ones that lived and roamed freely on the plains. And I say complicated history because before they had a common enemy of the Spanish conquistadors or the Texans or the US Army. So at one point they were sworn enemies, and then they became allies through necessity. So it's just an understanding of that dynamic was pretty mind-blowing. And then number four is this. Prior to reading this history book, I was never really into history, right? I was always into the genre of self-help or self-improvement books, but it taught me that history can in fact be very exciting and engaging when it's told with this much detail, and it fills in any gaps that I may have had through my education, which, by the way, I went through the public school education system in Fairfax County, Virginia, which I thought was pretty good, but I didn't really understand the indigenous history. But to learn just one snippet of it from the Comanches' perspective, eye-opening. So good. I feel like if this was an assigned reading when I was a high school junior going through AP US history, dude, I would have fallen in love with history. But at the time, I only saw history as a way for me to knock out some AP credits so I could take one less class in college. And number five is this. You feel bad and sympathetic to both sides of the people. the indigenous people, but also the first ones to make settlements in Texas and Oklahoma. You kind of see through their point of view and why they were trying to defend their land from one another. And I say that because if you choose to read this book and you learn about the atrocities that both sides committed against one another, you feel for them of why they felt like revenge was necessary, and you learn about the way of life in the 1840s, 1850s, 1860s, even around the event known as the Civil War. And ultimately, it gave me a new perspective and a newfound respect for the Native American people and also the Texans. And you'll probably resonate with what I'm saying if you choose to read this book. And if you made it to this point in the video, I'm just gonna read you one page, okay, in chapter 2 to see if you like the style and the writing, and to kind of hear what the book is all about. Just one page, all right? A lethal paradise. Thus did Quanah Parker, the son of a white woman from an invading civilization, begin to fulfill an intricate destiny. He would soon become one of the main targets of 46 companies of U.S. Army infantry and cavalry. 3,000 men, the largest force ever dispatched to hunt down and destroy Indians. He was to become the last chief of the most dominant and influential tribe in American history. What follows is, in the largest sense, the story of Quanah and his family. It has its roots in both the ancient tribal heritage of the Comanches and in the indomitable, fate-cursed Parker clan, which came to symbolize for many 19th century Americans the horrors and the hopes of the frontier. The two lineal streams came together in his mother, Cynthia Ann, whose life with the Comanches and the faithful return to white civilization form one of the Old West's great narratives. Behind it all is the story of the rise and fall of the Comanches. No tribe in the history of North America had more to say about the nation's destiny. Quanah was merely the final product of everything they had believed and dreamed of and fought for over a span of 250 years. The kidnapping of a blue-eyed 9-year-old Cynthia Ann in 1836 marked the start of the white man's 40-year war with the Comanches, in which Quanah would play a leading role. In one sense, the Parkers are the beginning and end of the Comanches in U.S. history. The story starts, as it must, in Texas in the tumultuous and transformative year of 1836, 12 years before Cynthia Ann Parker gave birth to Quanah Parker in a patch of prairie flowers on Elk Creek near the Wichita Mountains in southwestern Oklahoma. So if you are looking for a recommendation, a book to read about Native American history, specifically the Comanche tribe and a little bit of the Apaches and Kiowas and Cheyennes, this is the one. If you read up to 3 chapters and it's trash or it's boring and you feel like all the stuff that I said was misleading, then come back, click thumbs down on this video, leave a comment down below. And I will personally apologize to you for wasting your time. But I am telling you, if you get past the first 3 chapters, you're gonna read this all the way to the end. And that, my friend, is The Empire of the Summer Moon. Such a good book. And if you do decide to read this book, then if you remember this video, please come back and leave a comment down below, because I want to hear from you about anything and everything about your thoughts on the frontier, the Comanches, the Civil War, and how the Native Americans actually took sides. Some of them wanted to be Confederates and the other ones wanted to side with the Union. And it would be cool if you shared your takeaways from this book as well. And so until next time, stay safe, and I will talk to you very soon.